The final battle began in Earth's orbit. The Xorathi had gathered their largest fleet ever, more than 200 ships of all sizes. They planned to overwhelm human defenses with pure numbers, their traditional approach to difficult enemies. Admiral Carter watched the massive fleet from the bridge of his command ship. All of Earth's remaining vessels had been called back to defend the home planet. It was not nearly enough to match the Xorathi in size. "This is Admiral Carter to all ships," he said into the communication system. "You know your assigned targets, but how you attack is up to you. Be unpredictable. Be human." Captain Laura Bennett commanded the U.S. Resilient, one of Earth's most advanced ships. In her cargo hold was a special delivery system containing Dr. Russell's evolving virus. "We need to get close to their command ship," she told her crew. "It's the only way the virus will spread through their entire network." The battle began with a massive Xorathi advance. Their ships moved forward in perfect formation, firing energy weapons that lit up space like artificial suns. Human ships responded in dozens of different ways. Some charged straight ahead. Others used Earth's moon as cover. Some pretended to retreat, then turned to attack from unexpected angles. There was no pattern to their movements. Bennett watched the battle unfold, looking for her chance. The Xorathi command ship stayed behind the main fleet, protected by layers of smaller vessels. "We'll never break through their lines," her first officer said. Bennett studied the situation. Her ship had already taken damage, with fires on 2 decks and the main weapons system failing. "If we can't break through," she said finally, "we'll have to use what we have." She ordered her ship to turn directly toward the Xorathi command vessel. "Full speed," she ordered. "All power to forward shields." Her crew looked at her in shock as they realized her plan. "We're going to ram them?" someone asked. Bennett nodded. "Our ship is damaged. We can't outfight them. But we can deliver our package." The Resilient accelerated toward the Xorathi command ship. Enemy vessels fired at them, but the human ship was moving too fast to stop. It crashed into the side of the massive alien vessel, tearing through the outer hull. The impact was enormous. The Resilient's front section was destroyed instantly. The back half, where Bennett and some of her crew had taken shelter, was damaged but intact. "Release the virus," Bennett ordered through the smoke filling the bridge. The delivery system activated, sending millions of microscopic particles into the Xorathi ship's systems. The virus began to spread, moving through the biological components of the alien technology. The effect wasn't immediate, but it was devastating. Within minutes, the Xorathi command structure began to break down. Orders became confused. Some ships stopped receiving commands entirely. Major Carl Simmons, who had captured the first Xorathi months earlier, now led the boarding parties that entered the damaged command ship. His left arm had been replaced with a mechanical one after his earlier injury. "Move quickly," he told his troops, while they're still confused. The human soldiers fought their way through the alien vessel. For the first time, they saw Xorathi soldiers in disarray, no longer working together perfectly. In other parts of the battle, human ships pressed their advantage. They targeted Xorathi vessels that had lost connection to their command network. After 6 hours of intense fighting, something unprecedented happened. A Xorathi ship sent out a signal that human translators identified as a surrender message. The war did not end all at once. Some Xorathi ships continued fighting. Others retreated to the edges of the solar system. But the main fleet had been defeated. In the days that followed, Dr. Russell studied the Xorathi communication records captured from their command ship. He found something interesting in their historical archives. They had a saying, he told the United Earth Council, that perfection comes from uniformity. They believed that thinking and acting as one was the ultimate strength. Commander Natalie Diaz, who had discovered the Xorathi weakness to certain types of radiation, was chosen to meet with the alien representatives who came to discuss peace terms. They were considered invincible until they faced humans, she said afterward. Not because we were stronger or more advanced, but because we were unpredictable, adaptable, and refused to accept defeat. The memorial built in Geneva to honor those lost in the war carried a simple message: to the unbreakable human spirit that turned the tide against the invincible. And across the galaxy, word spread of the species that had done what no other could. They had defeated the Xorathi. Humanity had earned its place among the stars. As the war entered its second year, the Xorathi controlled Mars and several outer colonies, but they had not broken through to Earth. The fighting had reached a stalemate, with neither side able to gain a clear advantage. Admiral Carter called a meeting of Earth's top military leaders and scientists. They gathered in a room deep underground in Australia, one of the few places safe from Xorathi scans. "We need a new approach," Carter said. "The Xorathi adapt to each weapon we use. We can't keep up in a technological race." Captain Bennett, freshly returned from a battle near Jupiter, stood up. "I've noticed something about the Xorathi. They always expect us to act as one unified force. When we use different tactics in different places, it confuses them." Dr. Russell nodded. Their evolution made them think as a group. They expect enemies to do the same. Commander Ethan Powell, who had been leading small hit-and-run attacks in the outer colonies, shared his experiences. "My teams have had success using guerrilla tactics. Small groups acting independently seem to confuse the Xorathi command structure. They don't understand unpredictability," Powell explained. "Their whole history never required them to deal with it. They've always been able to overwhelm their enemies with direct force." This gave Carter an idea. What if we completely decentralize our forces, give each commander the freedom to choose their own tactics without central coordination? Some officers looked worried. "Won't that create chaos in our ranks?" one asked. "Yes," Carter said. "Controlled chaos. And chaos is something the Xorathi have never faced before." The plan was put into action. Earth's forces were divided into small, independent groups. Each was given basic objectives but complete freedom in how to achieve them. Some used stealth. Others used direct attacks. Some focused on Xorathi communication systems, while others targeted their supply lines. Commander Powell led one such team in the Jupiter system. They used small, fast ships painted black to blend with space. They would hit Xorathi outposts, then disappear before reinforcements arrived. After one successful raid, Powell recorded in his log that Xorathi don't understand unpredictability. When we attack in ways they don't expect, they struggle to respond. Their strength is in unity, but that makes them rigid. Meanwhile, Dr. Russell and Dr. Grant worked on a new kind of weapon. Instead of targeting Xorathi technology directly, they created a synthetic virus that could live in the biological parts of Xorathi systems. This virus evolves rapidly, Dr. Grant explained to Admiral Carter. Every time the Xorathi adapt to it, the virus changes too. It's unpredictable, just like our new battle tactics. The first tests were promising. The virus spread through Xorathi ships that had been captured, disrupting their systems in ways that changed constantly. "How do we deliver it?" Carter asked. "We need to get it inside their command ships," Russell said. "Once there, it will spread through their network." Carter nodded. "I'll assign Captain Bennett to plan the delivery. Her ship has the best chance of getting close enough." As these plans developed, something strange was happening among the Xorathi. For the first time in their long history, they were experiencing confusion. Their perfect coordination was breaking down as they tried to counter the unpredictable human attacks. Some Xorathi ships fired on their own forces by mistake. Others retreated from battles they could have won. Their commanders, used to having perfect information, now had to make decisions with incomplete data. And for the first time, the Xorathi began to feel something new. Fear, not the simple survival instinct they had evolved with, but a deeper fear of an enemy they couldn't predict or understand. A Xorathi commander sent a message to their homeworld, billions of miles away. "The humans do not follow patterns. Each one acts differently. We cannot predict their actions. Request new instructions." The reply took weeks to arrive. increase forces, overwhelm them with numbers. But the Thorathi commander wasn't sure if that would work anymore. These humans were unlike any species they had ever encountered. They learned, adapted, and embraced chaos in ways the ordered minds of the Thorathi couldn't comprehend. The final phase of the war was about to begin. 3 months passed after the human victory at Proxima Centauri. The Thorathi had pulled back to the edge of the solar system. People on Earth began to hope that maybe the aliens had given up. They were wrong. The Thorathi returned with new ships that had thick outer shells. These shells blocked the disruptor signals that humans had used to win the last battle. The aliens struck Mars' colony first, dropping thousands of troops onto the red planet's surface. Sergeant Brad Johnson and his platoon were stationed at the Olympus Mons research facility when the attack began. They watched from the base windows as Thorathi ships filled the sky. "So much for them giving up," Johnson said. He grabbed his rifle and turned to his soldiers. "Get all civilians to the lower levels. We need to hold them off until the evacuation ships arrive." The Thorathi landed outside the facility and began marching toward it. Their movements were different now. They moved in smaller groups instead of one large force. They used the rocky terrain for cover. "They've changed their tactics," Johnson told his command. "They're learning from us." Inside the research facility, Dr. Olivia Grant had been working on a new weapon. After the Battle of Proxima Centauri, she had come to Mars to set up a new lab. Now she rushed to finish her work as the base shook from Thorathi attacks. "Is it ready?" Johnson asked when he came to check on her. Grant nodded and pointed to several large devices that looked like speakers, sonic weapons. They target the biological parts of Thorathi armor at a frequency their new shells can't block. But they only work at close range. "Close range is all we've got," Johnson said grimly. He ordered his soldiers to set up the sonic weapons at all entry points. When the Thorathi broke through the outer doors, they met a wall of sound that human ears couldn't hear. The aliens stumbled, their movements becoming jerky as their partly living armor reacted to the sonic attack. "It's working," a young soldier shouted. "Don't celebrate yet," Johnson warned. "There are thousands more outside." For 6 hours, Johnson's platoon held off the Thorathi, while civilians escaped to underground tunnels leading to evacuation ships. The sonic weapons worked, but the aliens kept coming in waves. Each wave seemed to be more resistant to the sonic attack than the last. "They're adapting," Grant said as she adjusted the frequency. "Their biological components are changing to resist the sound." In Earth orbit, Admiral Carter received the distress calls from Mars. He had been preparing for the Thorathi return, building new ships and developing new weapons, but he hadn't expected them to attack Mars so soon. "All available ships, set course for Mars," he ordered. "Full speed." Captain Laura Bennett, now commanding the flagship U.S. Resilient, led the fleet. Her ship was equipped with multiple weapon systems, each designed to attack the Thorathi in different ways. "The key is unpredictability," she told her crew as they approached Mars. "If we use the same attack too many times, they adapt to it. Keep changing tactics." The human fleet engaged the Thorathi ships orbiting Mars. They fired disruptors, then switched to conventional weapons, then to a new energy pulse that Dr. Russell had developed. No single weapon worked perfectly, but together they kept the Thorathi off balance. On the surface, Johnson's platoon was down to half strength. The sonic weapons were losing effectiveness as the Thorathi adapted. Then Johnson had an idea. "Dr. Grant," he called, "can we reverse the sonic pattern? Make it the exact opposite?" Grant thought for a moment. "Yes, but I don't know what that would do." "Let's find out," Johnson said. They reversed the pattern. The effect was immediate. The Thorathi that had adapted to the first sonic attack were now even more vulnerable to the reversed version. They fell back in confusion. This gave Johnson's platoon the time they needed. The last civilians reached the evacuation ships. Johnson and his remaining soldiers, along with Dr. Grant, made it to the final ship just as the facility fell to the aliens. As they flew away from Mars, watching the red planet shrink in the distance, Grant turned to Johnson. "They're learning from every fight," she said. "Getting smarter, adapting faster." Johnson nodded. "So are we." The Xorethii fleet arrived at Proxima Centauri, the star closest to Earth's sun. 5 large ships and 20 smaller ones prepared to attack the human colony there. For months, they had crushed all human resistance. They expected this battle to be the same. They were wrong. As the alien ships moved toward the colony, Admiral Carter watched from the bridge of the U.S. Valiant, Earth's newest warship. "All ships in position?" he asked. "Yes, sir," said his second-in-command. 5 ships hidden behind the third planet. 7 more on the far side of the star. Carter nodded. "And the new weapons? Ready to deploy?" Carter took a deep breath. "This is our best chance. If Dr. Russell's weapon works, we might actually win this one." The weapon had been rushed through testing. It was based on Dr. Russell's study of the captured Xorethii. He had created a signal that disrupted the connection between the biological and mechanical parts of Xorethii technology. In tests, it made their armor lock up and their ship's systems fail. "Launch fighters," Carter ordered. Lieutenant Kevin Murphy led the first wave of human fighters. He was young, but already a skilled pilot. His fighter was one of the new Harrier-class ships, small and fast. "Remember," he told his squad, "get close enough to hit them with the disruptor signal. Then get clear. Don't stay in their firing range." The fighters zoomed toward the Xorethii fleet. The aliens began firing their heat beams, but the human ships were too quick. They darted in, released the disruptor signals, then pulled away. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then one of the smaller Xorethii ships began to drift off course. "It's working," Murphy shouted. "Their systems are failing." More fighters moved in, targeting the larger ships. The Xorethii tried to fight back, but their perfect coordination was breaking down. Some ships fired at nothing. Others stopped moving completely. On the planet below, human ground forces prepared for the Xorethii that had already landed. They carried smaller versions of the disruptor technology in backpack-sized units. "They're coming," said Sergeant Kelly Wu, watching her scanner. 500 yards and closing. Her squad waited in defensive positions around the main colony building. They could see the Xorethii moving toward them, walking on their 4 legs with their weapons ready. "Wait until they're in range," Wu told her people. "The disruptors don't work from too far away." When the aliens were 300 yards out, Wu gave the order. "Now." The squad activated their disruptors. The effect was immediate. The first line of Xorethii stumbled, their movements jerky. Some fell to the ground, their limbs locked in place. Others fired their weapons wildly, hitting nothing. "It's working," someone shouted. "They can't move right." The human soldiers opened fire with regular weapons, targeting the confused aliens. For the first time, they had a real advantage. In space, the battle was turning in humanity's favor too. Murphy's fighter squad had disabled 2 of the large Xorethii ships. The others were trying to retreat. "Don't let the command ship escape," Carter ordered. "That's the one with the main node." Murphy led his remaining fighters in an attack on the largest Xorethii vessel. They fired disruptors at close range, then followed with conventional weapons aimed at the weak spots they had discovered. "The command ship is disabled," Murphy reported. "Their whole fleet is in chaos." Back on Earth, Dr. Russell and Dr. Grant watched the battle reports come in. "It's working better than we hoped," Grant said. Russell nodded. "But they'll adapt. The Xorethii have conquered thousands of worlds. They won't give up because of one defeat." "How long do we have?" Grant asked. "A few months, maybe. We need to develop new weapons before they figure out how to counter this one." The Battle of Proxima Centauri ended with a human victory. It was the first time the Xorethii had been defeated in battle in their long history of conquest. As the alien ships retreated, Admiral Carter sent a message to Earth. "We've won this fight, but the war is far from over. The Xorathi will be back, and they'll be ready for our new weapon. We need to keep moving forward, keep developing new technologies. This is just the beginning. The humans had proven that the Invincible could be beaten. Now they had to prove they could do it again. 6 months into the war with the Xorathi, humans were still losing battles, but they were losing more slowly now. Each defeat taught them something new about their enemy. Major Carl Simmons led a team of 12 Special Forces soldiers. They wore new armor that could bend light around them, making them hard to see. Their mission was dangerous: capture a live Xorathi. Remember, Simmons told his team as they prepared to leave their ship, we need it alive. Their small craft landed on an asteroid where a damaged Xorathi ship had crashed. Sensors showed that some of the aliens had survived. The team moved carefully through the wreckage. They saw their first Xorathi standing guard near a makeshift shelter. The alien was 7 feet tall with 4 legs and 2 arms. Its blue-gray skin looked like metal in some places and like flesh in others. Simmons gave the signal. 4 soldiers fired special nets that released a gas. The Xorathi tried to run but fell to the ground, not moving but still alive. "Target down," said one soldier. "Looks like the gas works." But then alarms sounded from the Xorathi ship. More aliens appeared, firing weapons that shot beams of intense heat. "They know we're here." Simmons shouted, "Get the target to the ship. Everyone else, cover them." The battle was fierce. The team's new weapons worked better than older ones, but the Xorathi were still very strong. Simmons lost half his team. A Xorathi weapon hit his left arm, burning it so badly it would later need to be removed. But they succeeded. The captured Xorathi was brought to Earth and taken to a secure facility deep under the Appalachian Mountains. Dr. Alan Russell led the team studying the alien. They kept it asleep with special gases while they ran tests. "This is fascinating," Russell told Dr. Grant as they looked at brain scans of the Xorathi. "See these patterns? They're not what we expected." "What do you mean?" asked Grant. "We thought they were a true hive mind with no individual thoughts, but that's not quite right. They're networked, but hierarchical, like a computer network with main servers and smaller nodes." Russell took this discovery to a meeting with Earth's military leaders. Admiral Carter and other high-ranking officers listened closely. "So they're not all equal?" Carter asked. "No," Russell explained. "Some are more important than others, and the network can be disrupted. If we could identify and target the main nodes or leaders, we might be able to confuse the others." This wasn't the only breakthrough. Commander Natalie Dias had been analyzing star maps and Xorathi attack patterns. She noticed something strange. "They avoid these star systems," she said, pointing to several areas on a map. "At first I thought it was for strategic reasons, but look closer." She showed data about the stars in those systems. These stars all emit unusual radiation patterns in the gamma spectrum. "You think they're physically avoiding the radiation?" asked her superior officer. "Yes, I believe they can't tolerate it. It might interfere with their partly biological technology or their neural network." Meanwhile, the captured Xorathi provided more insights. Scientists discovered that its armor wasn't just worn, it was grown. The biological and mechanical parts were fully integrated. "The good news," Russell told Admiral Carter, "is that we might be able to create something that targets the biological components. Some kind of virus or toxin that would make their armor malfunction." Carter nodded. "How soon could we have a weapon based on this research?" "A few weeks for testing. Maybe a month before we could deploy it." "Make it faster if you can," Carter said. "We're losing ground every day." In space, the Xorathi continued their advance. But now, for the first time, they were meeting resistance that slowed them down. Human ships used new tactics based on what they had learned. They attacked in unpredictable patterns. They targeted the rear sensors of Xorathi ships. They used the radiation from certain stars as cover. For the first time in their long history of conquest, the Xorathi had to adapt their strategies. For the first time, They faced an enemy that studied them and learned from each encounter. The war was far from over, but the tide was beginning to turn. 3 months after the first attack, the Thorathi had destroyed 5 more human colonies. Earth's military leaders met in an underground room in Denver. The mood was grim as they looked at the star map showing the fallen outposts. Captain Laura Bennett stood at the front of the room. Her uniform was still dirty from the field. She had dark circles under her eyes from lack of sleep. New Montana colony fell 4 days ago, she said. My team was there to help with defense. Admiral Frank Carter nodded for her to continue. He was an older man with gray hair and a face lined with worry. We tried everything, Bennett said. Our best weapons only slowed them down. They just kept coming. Bennett placed a small metal cube on the table. This is the colony's data core. I saved it before escape. It has videos of the Thorathi attacks and all our weapon tests. How did you get away? Asked one of the generals. Bennett's eyes darkened. My unit was wiped out. I played dead under the bodies of my team. The Thorathi killed everyone they saw moving, then left. They didn't check if anyone was still alive. The room was silent for a moment. That's important, Bennett said, her voice stronger now. They don't make sure. They've never needed to before. They expect complete victory. On the other side of the Earth-Moon system, Dr. Alan Russell worked in his lab on Luna Base. The room was filled with scientific equipment and computer screens. On a special table lay a piece of Thorathi armor, about the size of a dinner plate. Dr. Olivia Grant entered the lab carrying coffee. Any progress? She asked. Russell nodded. Look at this. He pointed to a screen showing the inside of the armor piece. It's not just metal. There are living cells inside it. The armor is partly alive. Like a living shell? Grant asked. Yes, but more complex. The biological parts seem to work with the mechanical parts. It's a perfect mix of life and machine. Russell took a small tool and touched a part of the armor. The material twitched slightly. It still responds to stimulation, he said, even though it's been separated from the Thorathi for weeks. How does this help us fight them? Grant asked. Russell smiled slightly. Every living thing has weaknesses, diseases, allergies, poisons. If part of their armor is alive, we might find something that hurts it. Meanwhile, in space, the U.S. Defiant was on patrol near Jupiter. Commander Powell stood on the bridge, looking out at the gas giant's swirling clouds. Sir, said Lisa Martinez, we're getting reports of a Thorathi ship near Ganymede. Just one? Powell asked. This was unusual. The Thorathi usually attacked in groups. Yes, sir. It appears to be a scout. Powell thought for a moment. This could be a chance to learn more about them. Set course for Ganymede, but approach carefully. As the Defiant moved toward Jupiter's largest moon, Powell studied the enemy ship on the screen. It was smaller than the ones they had seen before, but still dangerous. What are they doing? He wondered aloud. Martinez checked her readings. They seemed to be taking samples from the moon's surface and from the ice geysers. Powell remembered what they had learned about the Thorathi so far. They study each planet before they attack. Learn its resources, its weaknesses. Sir, said the weapons officer, should we engage? Powell considered their options. A direct fight might end badly, but this was a chance they couldn't miss. No, he said finally. We'll observe for now. Record everything they do. We need to understand them better. The Defiant followed the Thorathi scout for hours, staying just out of detection range. They watched as the alien ship collected samples from different parts of Ganymede. They're methodical, Powell noted. They follow patterns. Back on Earth, Admiral Carter reviewed the reports from all fronts. The news was bad everywhere. But for the first time, there were also small notes of hope. Bennett's observation about the Thorathi not checking for survivors. Russell's discovery about their partly living armor. Powell's notes on their predictable patterns. Humans were starting to learn about their enemy. and knowledge was the first step toward fighting back. The Exorethi ships appeared in Earth's outer colony space without warning. Their vessels looked like giant spiders made of crystal and metal, glittering in the starlight. For thousands of years, the Exorethi had conquered every world they found. Their bodies were covered in hard shells that most weapons couldn't harm. They shared one mind across many bodies, which made them perfect fighters. No other aliens had ever stopped them. Commander Ethan Powell was eating dinner when the alarm sounded. He dropped his fork and ran to the bridge of his ship, the U.S. Defiant. The screen showed a distress call from Colony Outpost Epsilon. "Commander, the colony is under attack," said Lisa Martinez, his first officer. Her face was pale as she looked at the readings. "These ships match nothing in our database." "How many people are at the outpost?" Powell asked. 852 colonists, plus a science team of 23, Martinez said. Powell nodded. "Set course for Epsilon. Maximum speed." The Defiant jumped to faster than light travel. When they arrived 6 hours later, 3 of the spider-like ships were floating above the colony. Parts of the settlement were already burning. "Any response to our hails?" Powell asked. "None, sir," said the communications officer. "They're ignoring us." Powell ordered a scan of the enemy ships. The results made him frown. The Exorethi vessels were not just machines. They were partly alive, with biological parts mixed with advanced technology. "Sir, they're launching smaller craft," Martinez warned. Powell watched as dozens of shuttle-sized vessels left the main ships. They looked like metal insects, heading toward the colony. "Launch our fighters," Powell ordered. "Protect those civilians." The human fighters zoomed out from the Defiant. They fired their weapons at the alien shuttles. The lasers hit the Exorethi craft, but did little damage. Their shells absorbed or reflected most of the energy. "Our weapons aren't effective," Martinez said. "They're still heading for the colony." Powell hit the comm button. "All fighters, aim for the joint areas where the legs meet the body. Look for weak points." One pilot, Sam Rogers, noticed something. "Commander, their rear sensors seem less protected. I'm going to try something." Rogers flew his fighter behind a Exorethi shuttle. He fired directly at the back of the alien craft. The shuttle shuddered and spun out of control. "It worked," Rogers shouted. "They can be hurt." But there were too many alien shuttles. Some landed at the colony, and strange four-legged creatures emerged. They were about 7 feet tall, with smooth blue-gray skin and multiple eyes. Their arms ended in tools that could be either weapons or cutting devices. Powell sent down Marines to help the colonists. The fighting was intense. The Marines found that the Exorethi were very strong and could take many hits before falling. "They'd fight like robots," reported one Marine. "No fear, no pain, perfect teamwork." 2 hours into the battle, half the colony was lost. Powell made a hard choice. "We need to evacuate who we can," he told Martinez. "Send all shuttles down. Tell the Marines to cover the civilians' escape." As the evacuation began, Powell studied the Exorethi motherships. They hadn't moved or tried to attack the Defiant directly. It was as if they didn't consider the human ship a threat. "They're so confident," Powell said quietly. "They don't think we can hurt them." Martinez looked at him. "Can we?" "I don't know," Powell admitted. "But we'll find out." The Defiant managed to save 417 colonists and 8 Marines. The rest were lost. As they jumped away from Epsilon, Powell sent a message to Earth Command. "We've met a new enemy," he reported. "They're unlike anything we've faced before. They're strong, coordinated, and their technology is advanced. But they're not invincible. We found weaknesses. We'll find more." The war had begun. Humanity would face its greatest challenge yet.